It all began on a quiet street in a suburban neighborhood where families moved to escape the chaos of the city. Among them was Michael, a hard-working man who had spent years saving every penny to buy the perfect home for himself and his family. It wasn't a mansion, but to him it was a dream come true. The house stood with white siding, a wide porch, and a small but beautiful garden his wife adored. It was supposed to be the start of a new, peaceful chapter in his life. But peace never lasts long when you live under the shadow of an overbearing HOA, and worse, a Karen who believed the entire neighborhood belonged to her. From the moment Michael moved in, she began her campaign of harassment. She nitpicked every detail, from the color of his mailbox to the length of the grass in his yard. Every week, another complaint letter. Every month, another fine. Michael tried to remain calm, brushing it off as nothing more than the antics of a bitter neighbor. He never imagined it would escalate beyond petty complaints. Karen was not just any homeowner association member. She was the president. She walked the streets like a self-appointed sheriff, looking for violations, for excuses to make people bend to her rules. And when Michael pushed back, when he refused to pay her bogus fines, when he dared to attend a meeting and call her out in front of the community, that's when the feud truly ignited. From that day forward, Karen saw Michael not as a neighbor, but as an enemy who needed to be destroyed. It began with small acts of sabotage. His trash cans mysteriously disappeared. His car tires were slashed one evening. His mailbox was knocked down twice in a single month. Michael filed reports, but without proof, the police could do little more than shake their heads. Deep down, Michael knew who was behind it. He had seen the look in Karen's eyes when she glared at him across the HOA meeting table, but he had no evidence, and she made sure of that. Then came the night that changed everything. Michael and his family were fast asleep when the smell of smoke pulled him out of bed. At first, he thought it was a small kitchen fire, maybe an accident with the stove, but when he opened the door, flames licked up the walls of his living room. The fire spread quickly, roaring with a fury that no accident could explain. His wife grabbed their children as Michael fought his way through thick smoke to get them outside. By the time the fire department arrived, the house he had worked his whole life for was an inferno. Within an hour, it was nothing but ash and charred wood. Standing in the street with his children wrapped in blankets, Michael's eyes burned not just from the smoke, but from fury. He knew this wasn't random. Someone had lit that fire, and only one person hated him enough to do it. Karen stood in the distance that night, pretending to watch with concern, but Michael saw her smirk when she thought no one was looking. That image would burn in his mind long after the flames had died. The investigation took weeks. Arson. That was the official cause. Whoever did it had used accelerants, making it clear this was deliberate. The authorities began looking closely at those who had grudges against Michael, and Karen, with her long history of disputes and complaints, became the prime suspect. Witnesses even came forward. Neighbors who had seen her sneaking near Michael's yard the night before, carrying something in her hands. Finally, justice seemed within reach. When the arrest happened, Michael felt a strange mix of relief and disbelief. Karen, the self-righteous HOA queen who had tormented him for months, was dragged away in handcuffs. She screamed about conspiracies, about how everyone was lying, about how the neighborhood was ruined by people like Michael. But the evidence was too strong. For the first time, Michael felt like the nightmare might finally be ending. But fate has a dark sense of humor. Only a week later, Michael found himself standing in court preparing to testify. His family was still living out of a hotel, their lives turned upside down by Karen's rage. He had been rehearsing what he would say, determined to make sure she paid for what she had done. He sat in the courtroom, the smell of burned wood still haunting him, when the doors opened. And there she was. Karen walked in, no longer the tyrant of the HOA, but a defendant. Dressed in a dull prison uniform, shackles around her wrists, her hair disheveled. yet her eyes still burned with the same defiance. She scanned the room, and for a moment her gaze locked onto Michael. She smirked, the same smirk he had seen on the night of the fire. It sent chills down his spine. This wasn't a woman who regretted what she did. This was a woman who wanted him to suffer. As the trial unfolded, every detail came to light. The accelerant cans found near her garage, the security footage of her car driving suspiciously near Michael's house that night, the neighbors who testified about her threats, about how she had said Michael would regret ever crossing her. Piece by piece the puzzle formed, painting her as the mastermind behind the fire. But Karen never admitted guilt. She sat in the courtroom with an arrogant tilt to her chin, acting like she was the victim of some conspiracy. She claimed Michael had framed her. She claimed the neighbors were lying. She claimed the police were out to get her. Yet, as the evidence piled up, her lies crumbled. Still, the way she looked at Michael every time he spoke, every time he recounted how his children screamed as their house burned, it was as if she wanted him to know. This wasn't over. The jury deliberated for hours before returning with the verdict: guilty, arson, reckless endangerment, attempted manslaughter. Karen's face finally cracked, fury spilling over as the judge announced her sentence. Years in prison. No more HOA meetings, no more control, no more terrorizing her neighbors. For the first time, she realized the game was over. Michael sat there, exhausted but vindicated. His house was gone, his peace shattered, but justice had been served. He knew rebuilding wouldn't be easy. His children still woke up from nightmares of fire. His wife cried when she passed the empty lot where their home once stood. But he also knew one thing: Karen would never hurt them again. Yet, in the back of his mind, he couldn't shake the image of her smirk in that courtroom. The way she stared at him, even as she was led away in chains. It was a silent promise that if she ever got out, she'd come back for him. And though she was gone for now, her shadow still lingered over the ashes of the life she had tried to destroy.